Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Powered by Coldwell Banker Ford McMurray. We love YMM. Monday.
Kind of want a giant human-sized nap bed, dog bed, human-sized. There's a couple of students from UBC who are proving that naps in college are necessary. They're just necessary. That is how you thrive and survive. And if you don't do it yet as a college-aged individual, then you will learn it when you get a little bit older. Naps are the best, which is why I kind of understand as I get older. I'm not hating this idea because I get that tired, lay on the floor instinct that dogs have, you know? I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to spin around 3 times in the same place just to get comfortable, but you know what I mean? Like, I have that same thought in my brain where I'm like, I am tired. Look, there's the floor. Be nice to just flonk, hit it, you know? But I always hit the couch or the bed proper because it's way more comfortable, right? I am now starting to realize that Sparky does not have it so bad. Get a big, comfy pillow paradise on the ground, and then when you're tired, you just drop down and give your eyes a little rest for 5 hours. Of course, I say all this before ever investigating what the Pluffle is the name of the brand of this human-sized dog bed. What it's actually going to cost you. Haven't looked at all. Could be super expensive and not worth it. Just throw a mattress on the ground, right? You can find out for yourself. Parents 61 and 57 are saying that they spent their savings raising their son. They spent money on his education and supported him in becoming a pilot, a high-earning position, as well as they paid for a lavish wedding in 2016. You do the math on that. What's taking so long? Give us a grandchild. I don't know if suing is the way to go. I don't know if suing. I mean, maybe he's just got so much money that it really is just like gonna get his attention more than anything instead of leaving him destitute, which would not be a great position to like maybe have a kid in the future if they're planning to, or if they're not. That's also their choice, and who cares, right? Who cares? I know that parents do care. Because I've heard it, and everybody's heard it, right? When's the grandkids? What's that? How's the story going? But I did find that because I am the youngest of the family, that the older siblings have had some kids of their own, so there are grandchildren in the mix, and then the pressure for me was off. So that's the secret. Just have older siblings that have kids. Then your parents will leave you alone.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
Couple of big headlines to get into. Number one being the Juno Awards that happened over the weekend. Actually, 2 nights of Juno Awards, and back for the first time since 2019 for an in-person affair hosted by Simu Liu, who was very, very capable as the host. Love to see him again. Want to see him in more things, like more big movies. Come on, let's do this. Let's do this. He's got the Marvel thing under his belt. Let's do more. But we want to talk about music, and it was very cool to see some of the winners. The Arkells getting Group of the Year. Shawn Mendes, the youngster, getting International Achievement Award, as well as TikTok Juno Fan Choice. Album of the Year went to Charlotte Cardin, and of course a whole host of others. Meanwhile, the Billboard Music Awards were also on, and one of the biggest stories since it happened yesterday is the tone-deaf inclusion of country artist Morgan Wallen. So-called tone-deaf. People are thinking that it was a little bit awkward, seeing as how he was banned from last year's awards because of a video with profane use of the N-word in it, as well as sentiment that was aligned a little bit with some racist sentiment as well. At least appearances would give the impression. And he was there to perform last night, interestingly enough, showing up right after an acceptance speech that had a lot to do about social justice and civil rights.
Tuesday.
Really funny to see some of the things that people just absolutely ignore. One of the biggest ones, salted butter. A lot of recipes call for either salted or unsalted. And most people, myself included, just use salted for everything. For everything. It's got salt in it, and salt tastes yummy, and it's butter, and that tastes yummy. You put them together, it's a good thing. But there is a reason, like a chemical composition and chemical reaction reason for not having salted butter in certain recipes, right? In certain recipes. But who cares? If it tastes good at the end of the day, it tastes good at the end of the day. This is something that it depends. It totally depends on the cheese. It depends on the positioning, you know, the distribution of mold. But a lot of people will throw out the entire block when there's just a little bit of mold on it. All right, you can cut some off. You can trim the affected area off in some cases. Don't throw out the entire foot-long Cracker Barrel thing if you can just take off like 1/4 of an inch and you're good to go, right? The metal utensils in non-stick applications. That's a big thing. Measuring spices according to the exact amount that the recipe calls for. No, you do that with your heart. There's never enough garlic in the recipe. There's never enough garlic. So you put some in there yourself. What are the rules of cooking that you just don't care about? You eating that raw cookie dough? Because me too. Both excellent and bogus things are afoot at a Circle K out there in the world. Not anywhere near to us. In Phoenix, Arizona specifically, the Circle K that was featured as one of the locations, one of the kind of recurring locations for the original Bill and Ted movie, The Excellent Adventure. Yes, I know, Phoenix, Arizona. But it's in San Dimas! That's the setting. A lot of it was filmed in Phoenix to look like California. So, I mean, that actual Circle K isn't in LA or nearby, but it was shown as such, and in my youth, I believed it. And now it's going to be closing. That's the bogus news. I gave you the bogus first because the good news is, to celebrate and to mark the occasion, they're actually going to be doing like a drive-in screening of the original Bill and Ted in the parking lot of the Circle K from the original Bill and Ted. That is so awesome. Most excellent. Bodacious even. But again, the bogus part is because it's not going to be there much longer.
Hey Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Pearl Jam, unfortunately, their drummer, Matt Cameron, has been unable to play a few shows. He had a positive COVID test and has been, of course, isolating responsibly, but that meant that they were without their rhythm, their beat melody, their drummer, their timekeeper, and so they've been enlisting a few guest drummers. In fact, Josh Klinghoffer has been stepping in on drum duties for most of the tracks, but they've had guests for a few shows, and Kai Nukermans is the high schooler who was able to play for a couple of songs at the very end of the most recent show at the Oakland Arena, which is an unbelievable feat for an 18-year-old high school student. And meanwhile, with Eurovision, pro-Russian hackers have been interfering, or at least attempting to. Italian government cybersecurity saying that they are blocking attempts from groups to hack the voting system of the competition. And also there has been a clarification that despite the war and the invasion and the horrible things that are going on, the intention, the plan is still for Eurovision to be hosted by Ukraine next year. It'd be fantastic to see. And also, just unreal to see was a moment on stage with Metallica and James Hetfield praising his band for helping him out with, he's open about some mental health struggles that he was feeling. He's down in Brazil, which, of course, this isn't the same show where there was a birth in the audience. That happened previously. But this time around, he took a moment to address the audience and just say some really kind things.
I gotta tell you, I wasn't feeling very good before I came out here. Feeling a little bit insecure, like I'm an old guy, I can't play anymore, all this bullshit that I tell myself in my head. So I talked to these guys and they helped me, as simple as that. They gave me a hug and said, hey, if you're struggling on stage, we got your back. And I tell you, it means the world to me.
And then the band rushes Hetfield at the head of the stage to give him a big group hug. And I don't care how much of a tough metalhead facade that you've got going on, seeing it is going to make you a little verklempt, a little bit teary. It's a very important day. The day is the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. A very important day because as someone who totally believes that love is love, there's a little bit too much going on where people are saying, no, that's not the case. Some laws are being drafted down in the United States that don't make any sense, where they're saying, hey, don't say gay. And I'm going, but you just did. You realize that, right? So I am all for this day, a day against homophobia, transphobia, and biphobia. In the words of Jake Peralta,
I know this may come as a shock to you, but it's my truth. So I hope you can accept that. Jake. Maybe you still see me as your little girl, but I'm a woman now. And I know my own heart.
You done?
Yeah. Wow, that felt amazing. I really disappeared into it. Should I become an actor?
Absolutely not.
Wednesday.
She was a girl from the UK, he was a boy from the United States, and then they got married on Zoom. one of the very first people in the world ever to get married over the Zoom platform, virtual wedding. And it is happening. This is a thing that's happening a little bit more often, but I think under different circumstances. These guys in their 20s and deciding just because they can't meet up because of the pandemic, we're in love. Let's do this thing. Let's make it happen. They did get married in 2021, and now they're one of the very first couples who ever got married on Zoom to get a divorce less than 3 months later. We all thought those crazy kids would work it out. I wonder what possibly could have been missing from the relationship. You know what I mean? I wonder what possibly could have been the factor, other than the fact that she pretty much just caught him cheating while he was in the U.S. anyways. So that's never good for any wedding, no matter how it goes down. But still, I wouldn't have put my betting money on this one in the first place. There's a poll that has found that 53% of people felt like an adult when they turned 18. Half of people. That explains so much to me, because it should not be that high of a number whatsoever. Yes, 18, it's when you become an adult for sure. You become a man or woman or whatever you choose to be, and you get to drink, you get to do things that you might not have otherwise. You know, they'll let you rent vehicles and things, although sometimes the policy is like, no, not until you're 25. So, I mean, that tells you that 18 is just not exactly adulthood age, right? But here's the thing. You do feel like you know everything when you're about 17 to 21 years old. It's the I'm invincible phase of life, and, you know, one that you should probably grow out of pretty quick. For your own benefit, useful to you to realize that you actually didn't know nothing. Just get a little bit older and you realize not only that you had no idea, but neither does anyone else. We're all out here just winging it. No one knows what they're doing. And I repeat, no one knows what they're doing. There's even a jingle about it.
No one knows what they're doing.
So it must be true. Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Matt Cameron of Pearl Jam are pushing back against a Rolling Stone article about late Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins. The article in question features quotes from 4 sources. Though one is suspiciously anonymous and possibly made up, the others are Sass Jordan, who shared the article to social media without comment, as well as both Smith and Cameron, who have each instead released statements saying that their words were twisted out of context and that they deeply regret participating in the article, with apologies to Taylor Hawkins' surviving family. And speaking of family, the Gallagher brothers of Oasis have not seen each other in over 10 years. The siblings famously fought to the point of forever band breakup, back in the day, and it was broken. Their guitar was broken backstage at the Rock en Seine Festival on August 2009. That was the last-minute cancellation of their set and the immediate departure of Noel from the band. Yes, that guitar in question that got broken was recently put up for auction and has sold for £325,000, which equates to approximately 385,000 euros, which approximately comes to, a whole lot of our money or U.S. money or whatever you want to calculate it to.
Thursday.
Fans of both the Oilers and the Flames not feeling so good after the predictions from Wayne Gretzky, the great one, laying it down in a promotion with the league itself. He put out a full bracket and who's going to win in each case. So Edmonton fans probably not so thrilled that in the Battle of Alberta, he picked Calgary to win, Flames on top of things. And then on the Western Conference to finish things off, says that St. Louis is going to be who's up against Calgary, and in the end, the Blues are going to win it. Interesting predictions. Overall, he says they'll be facing the Hurricanes, and Carolina is going to win the playoffs and hoist Lord Stanley's Cup once again. I don't know. We shall see. Obviously, Game 1 in the Battle of Alberta did go to the Flames, and they were ready. 3 goals per period. Even though Edmonton took on 4 in the second period, they still couldn't quite match up. So, in the end, we're going to a Game 2 with a question mark as to who's finishing things, but Calgary well in the lead so far. It's really just beginning. We'll see if Wayne Gretzky and his sponsored predictions are going to be coming true or not. It's not going to be too long, only a matter of time, but hockey is back on again for the week. Calgary Stampede's coming. the greatest outdoor show on earth. It's June, early to mid-June. Exact dates, look it up if you actually want to go and check it out, right? But what's been capturing people's attention is the midway menu, and, well, some of the particular items on there. I cannot believe what is happening in Calgary right now, defying all sense and comprehension. And no, not talking about the playoffs, talking about the craft dinner flavored soft serve. That's right, they are going to be serving up KD original flavored soft serve. Some of the other items on the menu that made me go, what? Were mealworm hot dogs. I don't know if that's like crusted in mealworms or if the hot dog itself is made of mealworms. Either way, I mean, I'm not totally hating it, just probably not what I'm going to reach for. Cow tongue pizza. Yeah, no thanks. Octopus rangoon. Now that could be good, but I'm hesitant, right? Bad breath lemonade on the list as well because it's flavored with garlic and onions. In my lemonade? I don't know about that. On the food item that I'm washing down with the lemonade, okay, there we go. That's where I want to get my actual bad breath from. But then let's not just focus on the weird stuff. Some of the things on there sound absolutely delicious. Glazed donut grilled cheese, chipotle pickle Philly, a maple glazed Oreo donut, samosa poutines, waffle cookie dough ice cream sandwiches, deep fried mochi, and okay, here's a lemonade I can get behind. The Duck Pond lemonade. It's 3 liters of lemonade topped with a floating rubber ducky. That's amazing. I want one right now.
Thanks for listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
Some new releases coming, including an album from Ozzy. It's going to be coming in September. This coming from Sharon Osbourne. She appeared on the Graham Norton radio show, and though it was recorded in April, it was just aired recently, and she says, he's good. He's really, really good. Now, there was no word about his recent infection with COVID-19, and then everybody going, that's kind of scary. He's getting up there in age, but he does seem to be okay. I'm hoping that this is more truth than it is PR, and that he is actually doing okay, but he has had some shaky health over the last several years. Meanwhile, Alanis Morissette is going to be releasing a new album, but a meditation album that is going to guide listeners through a journey of their own subconscious. Meditation music is coming, and specific details about this Safety Empath in Paradise album coming, but you can get a taste of it already. There is some release on Spotify that is able to be previewed before the full album actually releases. And then we've got Pearl Jam, unfortunately, having to actually cancel gigs. Now, they have had their drummer, Matt Cameron, who has been, fighting COVID, isolating, and has been, fine, but not able to play with the band. So they've had their guitarist playing on the drums. They've also had guest drummers, including an 18-year-old high school student. Now, unfortunately, Jeff Ament has tested positive for COVID as well, which has forced them to cancel the rest of their U.S. tour dates. About half of the people who put their votes in for the leadership review that was counted up and the results announced yesterday here in Alberta are feeling like, it's just what the province needed. Others, not so much, but it does mean that there's going to be a little bit of power vacuum chaos going on in the province for the next little bit, as well as the start of a new campaign trail. I mean, a lot of eyes are on, of course, especially around here. Brian Jean, we'll see. We'll see what happens exactly. It's not going to take long. A lot of people speculating as well. What is Jason Kenney going to be up to now that he's no longer premier? What is the story? What's the plan? People are like, what's the new job he's going to get? I don't know. It's going to be something cushy for sure. He's still going to be making some money. Don't worry about that. But I'll tell you what I think is the immediate plan for Jason Kenney. I mean, beyond just grabbing a bottle of special occasion Jameson's, I guess, was the thing. It's not really a special occasion whiskey, but grab a bottle of that and contemplate the question, is it better to have led and lost than never to have led at all? And then he's going to be hanging out at Calgary Stampede, guaranteed. I mean, it starts off like a week into June. He's going to live there all week long. I guarantee it. Cowboy hat on and everything.
Friday.
A new study, there's always one of those, out of Germany specifically, was studying the effects of hugging on stress levels. And they found that it seemed to be that when females get hugged, that their stress level is significantly dipped. And they were checking the stress hormone cortisol specifically to see the levels that were expressed after hugs, before hugs, in a control situation, blah, blah, blah. And then they went to the men, they tested the men, and they found, hey, not so much. The hugs don't help with the stress level for males. Interesting. Speak for yourself, because I absolutely could use a hug just about any given point in time. Don't let the rough and tumble exterior fool you. I absolutely want a hug just about any point in time. I will take one right now. New announcement from Elton John. This guy just doesn't seem to stop, right? He's like, I'm retiring from making music, and then I'm going to tour some more. But it's going to be like a retirement tour, and then I'm going to add more dates to it. And I really hope that we don't push him to, actual injury. But regardless, a Goodbye Yellow Brick Road documentary that's including unseen concert footage from the past 5 decades of his career is going to be coming out, and co-directed with the filmmaker as well as Elton John's husband, David Furnish, is going to be R.J. Cutler, and the final Elton John performances and the years that made it his legend is actually the full title. It's a long title. They're just going to stick with Goodbye Yellow Brick Road for sure. And it is going to get a limited cinema release, but ultimately will find its home on Disney+. And sad news to end off. We are seeing a sad death in the music world, and an enigmatic, mysterious figure, Vangelis, the composer who is behind the absolutely iconic Chariots of Fire soundtrack, the Blade Runner soundtrack as well from the 80s, and so many more influences, but a man who very, very seldom gave any interviews or any glimpses into his private life. Really, his outlook was that his output into the world, the only thing people need to know about him, they can hear in his music. He was 79 years old and unfortunately died while being treated for COVID-19. Oh gosh, reality TV. More coming, of course. There's always going to be more coming, and more of it, but more of the Jersey Shore specifically is coming our way. They're going to be rebooting this over at MTV. The word has just come out. Nobody more upset about it than the cast of the original run. Although, some people have got to be pretty close out there in the world. Yeah, Jersey Shore reboot in the works, as well as, although completely different companies, a 4-hour Bachelor in Paradise is as well announced for the fall at some point. A whole 4-hour extravaganza. Get the comfortable clothes on. Get the most comfortable spot on the couch ready to go if you want to indulge for that entirety. But coming this fall, a.k.a. the fall of society.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruise FM.